Hello and welcome to Dallas Anime Meetup's special review video of Poison Control. My name is Nick and I want to give a huge shout out thanks to Nippon Ichi Software America for graciously giving us a download code for this game. I want to give you guys some background first on myself, so what types of games I like to play, and that way you can use that as a reference for your opinions and to further shape how you feel about my review. So, some background on me. I definitely like JRPGs, Pokemon, Final Fantasy, where you get to collect creatures, level up your party. I really like 3D platform collectathons, currently going through Banjo-Kazooie, and big Mario Sunshine fan, so that was actually what initially caught my eye about this game. Was it's kind of doing some of the similar stuff. You're cleaning up some gunk, you're fighting some enemies, but this is actually my first NIS game, so I'm not all that familiar with the lore, the Penny mascot references, and if this game ties into the bigger lore of the Disgaea or the Ys series, I'm afraid it went over my head, but let's just jump into it. So, as a game summary and plot overview, it's a mix between a third-person shooter and like an arena cleanup game, I suppose. NIS, the game's website, describes it as an action shooter, and it is definitely unique. You have you're pretty much switching back and forth between, as you can see in the video clip that we have attached here of some of my gameplay. You're kind of going back and forth between a form where you are running around in this poison muck, and then between the third-person shooting version, or I suppose that's would it be? Yeah, I guess it's third person, the kind of over the shoulder and shooting, and you have a lot of different weapons, guns that you can pick up by defeating these demons called kleshas, and that you also unlock by completing the different levels. You can strengthen all of these weapons, your loadout as it were, in between the different levels, using the money that you obtain as currency. And that's kind of, well, I have a couple of criticisms with the game, but we'll get to those in just a little bit. There is no English VA per se, you also may have noticed, but the Japanese does a really good job, and the dubs at the subtitle, the translation is also very good. They actually have a lot of innuendos as well. This game definitely lives up to its teen rating. The plot, a basic story element is you are dead, but you've ended up in this sort of purgatory in between hell area here, and this demon Klesha, her name is Poisonette, takes control of your body and is trying to help you ascend to heaven, but maybe she has some alternative motives, and you're really trying to, a lot of the game is uncovering the story. You are going through and also helping out other fellow lost souls kind of reach peace and ascend to heaven as they go through hell and all of these, fighting all these demons. You have to collect stickers by guiding these other fellow recently deceased girls. It's only girls, to find peace and solace in the afterlife. There's some cutscenes. I have a clip here. So you'll notice too, a lot of the early levels are very bright and poppy, pastel colors almost, but then there's definitely some darker ones. You'll see as well there are some little short animated cutscenes. Lots of text. It's I want to say part visual novel as well. The amount of kind of reading and stories going on, but it's very interesting. I actually want to compare it to the overall plot to, if you've seen that Wonder Egg Priority anime that came out in last year as well, how it's also similarly bright, happy, fun, beating up demons, helping souls, reach the afterlife, but lot of dark tones, and when you get down to it, this is actually a lot of very mature themes. So going into my thoughts, I actually really liked a lot of the unique aspects of this game. You can get XP and level up by just talking to some of the NPC hell-savvy souls, as they were, who also give you tips and some strategies, things that you maybe hadn't considered yet while playing the game. You can actually be very strategic as well in using certain enemies, such as the ones that explode, by maybe taking those out first and using those to damage the other enemies around you. I feel that the weapons themselves actually have some really good kind of feel to them. The knockback and explosions of some of them are pretty good. The Higan, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. The Higan radio segments that they have, they're very generally interesting, as they have some good insights into like the Japanese culture, and they play before and after each of the levels, kind of giving some more insight into what happened to each of the girls. And they usually tie it back into like a Japanese folklore, or even those. Sometimes it can be a bit cruel-hearted almost, but it's always a little interesting. I was actually able to increase my movement speed pretty early on through some of the heart-to-heart sections. You'll notice then too, that's going back to that VN aspect I had mentioned earlier, you're actually kind of bonding with your Klesha demon partner, I guess, through this game, by giving different responses to her questions at the end of each level. You raise your different stats, synergy, empathy, strength, some other ones. Let me go back in that scene. Insight, toxicity, and trust. And that actually raises your stats. So maybe you get more ammo, your shots hit harder, in addition to also leveling them up and unlocking other abilities through the currency in the game, in the kind of hub world. So each level has 3 secret poison gems that you can collect, and when you do, if you manage to collect all 3 of them in a single run, you can unlock a new weapon based on the girl that you kind of helped guide to the afterlife, or also sometimes different passive abilities. This clip that I got is showing how there's a lot of secrets and things hidden in the game, though there's only maybe a handful of ways that you can actually find them, and usually it's by destroying these blocks or cleaning up some of the poison that you'll find on the ground in these levels. So as I mentioned earlier, I really like Mario Sunshine, and I've actually also a big fan of the Splatoon series. That this game definitely, I feel like, takes at least some spiritual influence from, potentially, in terms of like running through or swimming through the poison, and then even the dual radio hosts playing off each other, similar to Callie and Marie. But in my personal opinion, maybe they could have borrowed a couple of other things. As you'll see here, one of the big things was like there's just no way to kind of like test out and really see what the weapons do from the short descriptions. And you'll see from, well, if you recall the earlier clip, it does have kind of like a star rating on the different like stats for maybe like spread and damage, but there really isn't like a practice mode that I really feel that the game could have benefited from, to just kind of see how much damage the weapons are doing, be able to swap between them, and maybe if you would have had like some more side abilities. Everything that you equip is pretty much either just going to be a weapon or like a passive. So there's one that, like, as I mentioned, increases your movement speed, and one that lets you gain more coins and money, one that increases your main damage, and one that increases your defense. And as you level them up, they do get other attributes as well, such as also increasing your HP and increasing your resistance to interruptants, and enemies' attacks and things like that. But I feel like if there would have been some other like sort of practice area, that would have been a big beneficial benefit to the game. I also had so the levels designs themselves, they're a bit samey, even though the colors are all very unique and very bright and pop out. There is one other level style here I have in this clip where it's kind of like the school um, setting, and that's more pretty unique, where you get to go to different classrooms and beat up the demons. As you can see, there's usually either one or two goals. As you can see in the top right corner, either you're purging a certain percentage of the mire, of the poison, or you have to defeat a certain number of the demons, of the kleshas, as they were. It's overall, I'd say it's a pretty comfy game, I suppose. It's one that I really enjoyed. It's not too intense until maybe the last level or second to last, and it's definitely one that I would recommend, even if you're not a fan of first-person shooter games. And if you do, similar to me, like this anime style and some of sure enough, the tropes that come with it, I feel like you would enjoy this. The story can get a bit crazy, but you can definitely tell that the developers and scenario writers were having fun with it. It has a lot of twists, a lot of crazy endings as well, we'll talk about here in a little bit. Some potential constructive criticism I got. This clip, I was just a bit dumbfounded. Some of the hit detection of some of your weapons and some of the enemies' attacks as well sometimes doesn't always register. This was actually one of my favorite enemies from like a design-wise, but as you can see, maybe some of their attacks don't always register when they hit you for some reason. And also towards the end of the game, you'll be fighting a lot of them, and you'll notice their big shield can block your attacks, and that can get a little bit annoying after a while. There's certain strategies you have to use, either popping up out of the poison to stun them, or using one of the more explosive weapons, but maybe you don't always want to have one of those on your in your loadout before you go into the into a level. Maybe you want to use some of the other weapons, and restricting or limiting your choice to that you always have to have an explosive weapon can be a bit to be able to defeat those enemies can be a bit annoying, potentially. Another part of the gameplay is you can actually pick up these what they're called I have to pronounce this correctly, deliriants, in the different levels that are based on some of the enemies that you find. And at first I was a little bit confused. I thought that they were like ammo refills, but what they're actually doing is swapping out your tertiary weapon for a new kind of random one. It has a little icon on the pickup, but it's really anyone's guess as to what it's going to do when you pick it up. So it'll be your fourth backup weapon, and some of them can be very powerful, but overall, besides with the exception of that shielded enemy, all of your problems can be solved by just kind of keep shooting with whatever you still have ammo with, and that pretty much solved most of all of the problems up until the end game. Also, another point, I was, full transparency, able to beat the game in less than 11 hours, according to my Switch's time of playing the game, which includes getting all the poison gems and all the levels, and unlocking the secret final sake bottle bonus level, which are going to get into some spoilers now. So if you want to, if you're considering getting the game yourself, I would recommend skipping ahead this section here to the timestamp we're going to have. In this clip, you can see you get pretty OP by the end of it. You can see my character running way faster. My weapons do a lot more damage, and you can see I'm pretty much have to charge up for a little bit, but this one will just mow down the enemies as long as you're hitting them correctly. And you can get other similarly very powerful weapons, including the shotgun one. And this game also you can compare to the Persona series as some of the UI elements and some of the plot as well. It definitely dives into some darker territory as you have to sort out kind of each of these girls' psyches of what happened, why they died, and it's got some heavy stuff that I wasn't really anticipating, including anorexia, themes of abuse, self-harm, lewd manga drawings that are being passed around the school, student-teacher relationships, killing your own mother to use her blood as plant fertilizer. Common things, I guess. Happens in Japanese school. I don't think that one's all that common, but it really goes into some really interesting territory, I gotta say. The game doesn't pull any punches in terms of the literal hells that these girls going through. But most of them, I kind of gotta say they're either played off as in the intermission radio shows as jokes or haha funny Japanese urban legends, I guess, which is maybe these things are more common, or it's more culturally acceptable to joke about these types of things, but this is kind of caught me off guard, some of the exactly what they're saying is happening to these characters. There's some boss battles at the end that were actually really interesting then, and I got one of the clips here of one of the bosses, these naga snake creatures, and it definitely turns up the heat a little bit more as they're starting to constantly attack you. They're throwing all kinds of projectiles, they have melee attacks, and you actually end up fighting the other poisonettes towards the end of the game as well. That it's pretty well. I want to compare it also to one of the Splatoon final end game battles, where they're also running around and shooting at you with different projectiles. Now they are not able to kind of go into the poison and go up and attack you that way, but otherwise they have very similar abilities and movement to your character, so it can definitely keep you on your toes. Some of the end of the plot as well, you end up meeting a rival character, Blanche, and there's a girl in mourning then as well that's in a similar situation to you and Poisonette, where you're trying to kind of get all these 5 golden stickers that will allow you to reach the heavenly realm before they do. So it turns out the reason that they're trying to do it is they're trying to go back in time and to stop a sister from being abused to death as a victim of child trafficking. It's pretty intense. You end up finding the mastermind kind of behind this whole thing, and it's the final boss fight as well. Things are just going all over the place. There's different colors of poison. The boss is spawning other enemies. You can see I'm just trying to run away from all of the missiles and everything, laser blasts that are being shot at me. And you do end up, there's kind of 2 different endings. I don't want to spoil it actually all that much, but it's a pretty satisfying story ending for what it is. You are able to kind of also have a twist decision at the end to make if you want to actually get out of hell, go back to the real world, or I think if I'm understanding it correctly, you could potentially have a harem ending of all of the Poisonettes, maybe, if that's what you want. But both endings, all the characters are fairly likable. The one that girl in mourning, who has a lot of unintentional innuendos based on some of her phrasing and speaking, is interesting to say the least. How she was able to reach some of the phrases that she was trying to say. It's its whole thing. But yeah, getting back to my final thoughts. So I'll say spoilers are over. Should you go? Should you get this game? It's $40. Last I checked on PlayStation Store and Nintendo eShop. It's it's tricky. It's hard to recommend at that price, I gotta say. For the amount of time that I got out of it. But I mean, what really is money? Like $40 could be like 30 pulls in Genshin, and that would get you what, like 2 Cold Steels and 1 Barbara. You can gain or lose $40 in a day in the stock market. I would definitely recommend, if you ever see this game on sale, you should definitely pick it up. If you've liked the gameplay, though, if you have the expendable income, then of course definitely get it. And if you've liked my commentary, it's a lot of fun. And definitely a unique kind of experience. If you like other third-person shooters, maybe, but you want something a little bit more casual, I think I would recommend it. It's difficult, I gotta say, though, to Google information on this game when I was trying to check out some other reviews, and when I was trying to figure out what exactly it was that secret ending in the 27th level. Google searching poison control will not pull up necessarily information on this game. I gotta say, it's a similar situation to Pokemon X, when they decided to come up with that name. But yeah, if you could get it on sale, especially, but in general, if you like the gameplay, if you are looking for a fun, entertaining game to play, and you like the anime sort of aesthetics, I would definitely recommend it. So thanks for tuning in to our Dallas Anime Meetup review of Poison Control. Again, I've been Nick, and I hope to see you again next time.